Hello, my name is Ken R. Scott, your narrator. This training video was made to familiarize you with the various levels of access control. The word access is defined as a message of entering or approaching a place. For most people, when they hear the term access control, the first thing they think about is the systems that they've seen at airports, searching people for weapons, using metal detectors and X-ray machines. The fact is, access control is used at almost every security post. For example, a security officer patrolling around the perimeter of a warehouse is there to control access into the building by unauthorized persons. A security officer assigned to an office building lobby controls who is allowed in the building, and identification cards are checked before access is allowed. A gated community is where a security officer checks guests' vehicles in and out. There are more examples, but I'm sure you get the idea. In the 20th century, access control started becoming more sophisticated. The first electronic system was a buzzer hasp on locks and doors. They allowed someone working inside a secured area to visually observe persons requesting entry. If they didn't feel threatened, they could simply buzz the lock open to let them in. If they felt threatened, they would just keep the door locked. About the same time, combination locks were invented. Only those persons with knowledge of the combination could gain access. In other words, entry was restricted to only the person possessing the keys or had the combination. As time went on, access control systems began to get more sophisticated. One example is access electronic door locks, where you simply press in your code to unlock a door. Card access systems, people possessing an access card would simply slide their card into the reader slot, and then the system cross-checks with the database, and if verified, the door unlocks electronically. At the same time, the system recorded the name, date, and time the person entered. Then there are fingerprint systems. A fingerprint system is when a person is required to place their thumb on the reader, or in some cases, their palm on the reader to verify their identity. Just like the card access system, it would check for verification and then unlock the door and document who and when entered. All of this happens almost instantly. Another system used in high security locations is the eye recognition system. This is basically the same concept as the finger reader, but in this case it scans the iris of the eye to verify the identity. There are more electronic access systems, some more sophisticated and some not, but the concept is always the same: identify, verify, and document before unlocking the door. Most of these systems usually do not require a security officer to be present. You may ask, what happens if someone tries to enter with a forged card or their fingerprints don't match? The lowest levels of security would be that the reader would just not unlock the door. A higher level of security is when the system sets off an alarm, notifies the dispatcher, who then sends a security officer to respond and investigate. Some security systems are further enhanced by using recorded closed-circuit TV. TV surveillance is not an access control system in the true sense. It is a deterrent, but it does not prohibit people from entering. It is an excellent investigative tool that's usually used after the fact. Of course, in some situations, the TVs are being monitored by security officers who can react appropriately. But in this training video, we're going to focus on access control. Okay, now let's go over a few access control systems available today. We'll start with the basic systems and work our way up to the more sophisticated systems that you might be assigned to. Here's a simple and basic method that is still being used today at small apartment houses. When a guest walks into the outer lobby, they press the button for the resident's apartment. The resident, usually by voice, or in some systems there will be a miniature TV screen in the receiving intercom to help identify the guest. If the resident wants to allow them access, they just press the intercom or control button, which will unlock the lobby door. Obviously, there's a lot of flaws and security concerns in this procedure. As I said, it's still being used anyway all over the world. Many large, high-rise office buildings, residential buildings, and government buildings use some sort of sign-in system. This process works as follows. If a person is not a tenant with an access card, the security officer is required to physically screen the guest or delivery person. This begins with them showing a picture ID and ascertaining their purpose for entering the building. If they want to visit a tenant, the officer will contact the tenant to verify if this person is expected or if they know him or her and want to approve access. The guest would then be required to sign the visitor log indicating the time and date of entry. That's not the case with tenants. Tenants who are recognized by the security officer are just waved in. Sometimes it takes a while for a new security officer to recognize all the tenants, and they may have to challenge tenants. Most Level 1 security locations have a recording TV camera system for backup. Note, I recommend that if you're assigned this type of post, you always cross-check the person's photo ID with what they signed in the visitor log. Believe it or not, occasionally, someone will try to get cute and write in Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, or some other crazy name if you're not paying attention. By the way, this is a method used to check job performance. It would be embarrassing to have your visitor log with a cartoon character's signature for checking in. Here again, the Level 1 screening process is not the most secure process, but it is still being used. Level 2 building has all the features of the Level 1 access system, but in addition, it also has a card access system. The way this works is that when tenants or employees come into the building, they must slide their access card across the reader. The system instantly identifies the tenant or employee, documenting their name, date, and the time that they entered. Most large residential or commercial businesses and government facilities also have a security officer on duty. The reason for this is to screen visitors or delivery persons who do not have an access card. The process is the same. Notify the tenant for authorization. Even if the visitor is approved, they still have to sign the visitor's log and be issued a visitor's pass. Some posts require that visitors have to sign out of the visitor log when they leave and return the visitor's pass. Gated community access control is pretty much the same, but the difference is that a gated community has both vehicles and pedestrians. Typically, a gated community consists of a security officer and a guardhouse, which is the access control area. Standard procedures work as follows. Residents usually have a community sticker on the windshield or behind the rearview mirror. When a resident comes in, the security officer greets them, checks the community sticker, documents, and waves them through. At some gated communities, there are 2 roads in and 2 roads out. The outer roads have traffic control arms that can be activated by tenants using garage door type openers or electronic transmitters in their vehicle to activate the control arm when they enter or exit. That's not the case for guests and deliveries. Most communities have a procedure that residents are required to notify security when a guest is expected. Most of the time, the resident will provide the security officer with a specific time frame. When that guest arrives, they must identify themselves to the security officer, who then cross-checks their ID with the resident visitor notification list. If everything checks out, they're given a visitor pass to display on their dashboard. The purpose for putting the visitor pass on the dashboard is so the patrol security officer inside the community will know that this vehicle has been authorized access. At some gated communities, the security officer is also required to call the tenant to let them know that their guest is on the way, even though it was prearranged. When an unexpected guest or delivery person arrives, the security officer shall ascertain their name, the name of the resident that they'd like to visit or make the delivery to. It's a good idea to request the purpose of the visit unless it's obvious, such as a package or pizza delivery. The process works as follows. The security officer calls the resident to ascertain if the visitor or delivery person can be allowed to enter. If they are approved, a visitor's pass is issued. If the resident doesn't answer, they should not be allowed entry. If it's a delivery, some communities allow the delivery person to leave the item at the gatehouse. As for unexpected guests, they are asked if they want to leave a message. If the package is not left, or the unexpected guest does not leave a message, the security officer will still document the incident, including the vehicle's tag number. Security officers assigned to a warehouse, distribution center, or any other large commercial complex and are assigned to the gatehouse will be required to screen all entering and exiting delivery trucks as well as all visitors. Very often, they're required to monitor and/or inspect the doors of all vehicles. Like the gated community, the gatehouse usually has two doors. One door faces the incoming traffic, and the other door faces the outgoing traffic. All trucks and tractor trailers are required to stop at the gatehouse. If it's not a warehouse vehicle, the security officer shall obtain the delivering business's name and purpose of the entry. Usually the truck drivers will show the security officer a manifest. The manifest should be cross-checked with the list of expected deliveries. If delivery is not on the list, the security officer will contact the warehouse manager to obtain permission for the truck to proceed. Many tractor trailers are loaded and shipped from overseas. In almost every instance, the trailer's near and side doors have a tamper-proof seal on the hasp. Officers are required to check the seal to make sure it has not been tampered with or is missing. If it has been tampered with or is missing, they will notify warehouse management before the truck is allowed to proceed. These same type tamper-proof seals are used when a truck is exiting with cargo. Here again, if the seal is tampered with or missing, they will notify warehouse management before allowing the truck to proceed. Due to time constraints, I did not cover every procedure and regulation involved in maintaining access control for any of the mentioned facilities. These policies and procedures will be found in your post orders or given to you by your supervisor during post orientation. This is the end of training session 1. Please view training session 2, which covers metal detector scanning procedures.